If you've broken the law and there's tons of evidence to prove it, you're probably going to go to jail or prison no matter how rich and famous and influential you are. Even the world's most famous mobster, Al Capone, went to prison in the end on charges of tax evasion. And if you're a YouTuber, you're no exception. And there'll probably be even more evidence considering YouTubers really like to film everything. Watch this video to find out the top 5 YouTubers who have been sent to jail. Number 5. TrollStation really didn't know what they were getting themselves into when they decided to do a prank where they carry out a fake heist at an art gallery, complete with wearing ladies' tights on their heads to disguise themselves and carrying huge fake paintings. They've even managed to rig an alarm sound effect to come from somewhere. That or they actually triggered the alarm on purpose. But this did not end well for the guys in the video, because they really did end up arrested, and it wasn't for carrying out a heist and stealing a bunch of valuable paintings from a London art gallery. The video description explains that they have actually been charged and ended up receiving a hearing from the authorities for public disorder and public nuisance. Given the damning evidence they recorded themselves, or them causing chaos by yelling, setting off alarms, and forcing people to evacuate the building, it's hard to really argue with the cops about this one. While TrollStation seems to be a channel that promotes this kind of behavior and frequently makes videos like this, they probably won't be able to use the "it was just a prank" excuse to get out of escaping jail time, or at least a large fine and community service for their behavior. They should probably learn from the experience and stop making videos like this. However, given the fact that 3 weeks ago they uploaded a video called Police Drug Raid Prank, I doubt they've learned their lesson. Honestly, they might have gotten away with it if it wasn't for the incredibly loud alarm sound in the background. Or maybe if they just hadn't pretended to be committing a major crime in the first place.
Please! I've got the painting! I've got the painting! It's a joke! It's a joke! It's a joke!
Number 4. Sniper Wolf is unique on this list because she's actually been arrested twice, not just once. We're only going to be getting into the latest time, but interestingly, the first time she got arrested a good few years ago was actually for armed robbery. This time was different though. This time she and her boyfriend, fellow YouTuber Evan Sausage, who goes by Sausage, both got arrested for disorderly conduct. This all came about because they got into a fight and he changed his phone wallpaper to a picture of a random girl. And she got so angry about it that she started screaming. Eventually the neighbors heard and they called the cops on them. And the cops showed up and arrested both of them and took them first to the police station for them to have all their information taken, and then drove them all the way out to jail just because of one tiny fight. Hearing her tell her story herself is a pretty wild ride, as she discusses talking to some of the arresting officers about the new DLCs for Destiny, and then about having to be in a room with 10 other girls who were all trying to pee into cups. The grossest part being that some of the girls were on their periods at the time. Luckily for Leah, one of the guards knew who she was and gave her preferential treatment, letting her have a private room to pee into a cup. She also apparently managed to trick all the other girls into thinking she was a drug dealer so that none of them messed with her. Then when they moved into the cell was apparently full of vomit and feces, which really tells you a lot what about the justice system is like in Arizona. All this because she got into a fight with her boyfriend and he changed his phone wallpaper. To be honest, she should have just let it go and not screamed to disturb the neighbors. Then her whole ordeal could have been avoided.
We sat there at the police department for a while. They were like taking pictures, filling out information, doing mugshots. So the girl that brought us in, she called me up to take my mugshot. They're like, oh, this isn't gonna be online. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be online and millions of people are gonna see this. So I started smiling like, she was like, ah, she's posing for it. I'm like, yeah, everybody's gonna post this. I'm gonna come home, see this all over Twitter. So yeah, I'm gonna smile. I wanna look good for this shit. I'm not gonna be all miserable like, here's my mugshot. Not bad. My eyes were like that because I was crying before. I was like, I didn't want to go to jail. But they still took me in.
Number 3. SeaWorld was in the news again just last week when another of their captive killer whales, Kasatka, ended up having to be euthanized at the age of 42. So when Steve-O of Jackass fame and now a YouTuber after beating his many substance abuse issues decided to protest against SeaWorld, there were a lot of people who supported him and he ended up going to jail. Crazy enough though, he was sentenced to 30 days for his stunt. He actually only served 9 hours, though this is because of overcrowding and not because people let him out for being famous. To be honest, I'm sure Steve-O would have gladly served the jail sentence, and has undoubtedly been to jail before. His protest took the form of him climbing all the way to the top of a very tall crane with an inflatable orca on it, which wrote "SeaWorld Sucks," and attempted to get "SeaWorld Sucks" trending on Twitter. He also let off a bunch of fireworks when he reached the top of the crane, and it was this along with the trespassing that he got arrested for. He pled guilty and got arrested, but at the time it was protocol to immediately release anyone serving a sentence of less than 120 days because of the overcrowding issues. It's no surprise that Steve-O wanted to protest against SeaWorld, because tons of people protest against SeaWorld these days, ever since its animal abuse accusations got the attention of the media after the murder of trainer Don by another recently deceased whale called Tilikum, and the documentary which was made afterwards about SeaWorld's treatments of its orcas, blackfish. Steve-O was even wearing a blackfish shirt and shouted that he got out of jail that he did it for you, Shamu.
And we got Shammy. Should I light the artillery shells? The helicopter's not that close, right? Woo! This is fucking chaos!
To put my foot down for Shamu.
Yeah, Shamu! I did it for you!
Number 2. Cali Muscle is a YouTuber famous for being a bodybuilder. Unlike the other people on this list, he's not a famous YouTuber who went to prison. He's a YouTuber who was made famous after his experiences in prison shaped his life. In a short documentary film about him, he explains how he ended up going to prison like he did. He's another victim of the gangland violence and culture you get in lots of poor areas of America. And though he got a sports scholarship to play football, he ended up going to prison for armed robbery for 11 years. It was in prison that he really found his passion for bodybuilding because of all the food he was eating while inside, saying that barely anybody in prison ever took steroids because it was so easy to bulk up without them, for him at least. When he was finally released from prison, he went to Los Angeles as soon as possible, and just 2 weeks later got a role in a project run by Matthew McConaughey, and went on to star in tons of national commercials for companies like Geico, Snickers, and Comcast. It's a pretty awesome turnaround for someone who spent around a decade in prison when they were still young, and it shows that the prison system does sometimes work at reforming people and helping them learn to make something of themselves instead of just being criminals. He also used some pretty innovative tricks to work out in prison, even using huge water bottles and other people as weights when he was locked up in San Quentin, one of America's harshest prisons. Cali says that his sole purpose on earth is to help kids, so he goes on tours of inner city schools to teach them that they don't have to be criminals or they might end up dead, just like most of the people he met when he was on the inside.
Because I was eating Dunkin' Sticks, honey buns, top ramen and tuna spreads, and I was huge. I was 230. There wasn't no need for no steroids. The only time I heard of somebody taking steroids in prison was at Tehachapi prison I was at. And a big white guy, he was young too, he was like, I got some D-ball. I'm like, what the fuck is that? He like, oh, it make you big. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm the biggest on the yard. What I need some fucking, and it's $20 a pill? Man, I go get 4 cases of top ramen for that.
Number 1. How many people do you think see the Hollywood sign and want to climb up it? Well, YouTuber prankster Vitaly did exactly that. In fact, he's done it twice and got arrested both times. So you'd think he'd learn his lesson. He has a whopping 9.2 million subscribers on his channel, so clearly his high-profile, high-risk pranks are working out pretty well for him. The whole reason he decided to climb to the top of the Hollywood sign was to create buzz for his movie that he had just finished filming, which is called Natural Born Pranksters and also stars famous YouTubers Dennis Rohde and Roman Atwood. He climbed the D of the sign, which is actually a lot taller than it looks and stands around 45 feet, and vlogged when he got to the top of it while waving around a banner reading "I'm back." He was released after posting bail, so he didn't really suffer too much, but could also be facing a $1,000 fine. I'm sure he made that up with revenue from his movie though, considering it premiered at the top spot in the iTunes comedy charts. I guess when he says that he's back, he means that he hasn't been uploading to YouTube because of the movie he was filming, saying in the statement he gave to CBS that they really missed me, the villains, and I had to show them who's back. Villains being what he calls his fans.
What now?
He then climbs down in an attempt to grab his flag, but then climbs right back up. He told us his name is Vitaly Zurovetsky, a self-proclaimed prankster who says he just made a movie about pranks. Yesterday, he tweeted this: tomorrow, filming a huge stunt, the welcome back video. Thursday, Miami. After a police helicopter circled overhead, he eventually climbed down and had officers waiting, who then took him down the steep trek where an officer seemed to lose his footing. We caught up with him while in the back of a patrol car.
The villains missed me. They really missed me, the villains.